Hello, 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 hello.
Salam alaikum. Is that better? Yes, is that good? Okay, hello everyone. Thanks for making it through the British weather to come here. Uh, we've got a lot to get through, and I'm very keen to give you as much as possible in the time that we have. So I'm going to run through the material very quickly, and to make sure that you have a good session of question and answers, so that we can be much more directed about the information and help that I give you. Because one thing that we learned yesterday was that there's a great desire to work in photography, to succeed in it, and I think at the same time a great frustration about how difficult it is. And one of the things that I learned from yesterday's session, how many of you were there yesterday? Okay, quite a few. That's good, about a third or so. So one of the things I learned from you yesterday is maybe that it would help you to expand the sense of what photography actually involves, what it means. So let's start. The program is that I'll talk to about 6:45. We'll have a 10-15 minute break for those who wish to pray and to have a break, and then we'll pick it up. I'll end at about 7:30. If I run on, please give me a kick, and I'll stop, and then we can have questions and answers, because I know I can't cover everything, but so the best thing is for you to tell me what you need. So our subject is a professional future in photography. Let's outline the current situation so that we don't fool ourselves about how things stand. How many photographers are there who are like you, are really keen to be photographers? How many of you, just to get an idea, how many of you have cameras with better than 12 megapixels sensors? Yeah, that should be all of you, because actually a lot of cell phones are like 12 megapixels and up, aren't they now? 40 megapixels, there you go, and plus 2 or 3 lenses and everything. Let me tell you that when I started, before maybe some of you were born, in like 1998 or so, a 1.3 megapixel camera was big news. Right? And to use a 6 megapixel camera costs you 25,000 US. So, and while we're asking you about that, how many of you would love to be a professional working photographer if you could? Come on, don't be shy. Be honest. Yeah, that's nearly all of you, isn't it? So basically, let's ask the next question is, how many of you want to have my job? Be honest. You do? Okay. Well, I don't see why I should be helping you. I'm leaving. But between us, we produce 2+ trillion images a year. In fact, there's so many images at the moment, and as the rate increases, we actually never know quite how many images. It's just a rough estimate. And that's actual original images. You'll say, well, we're not interested in pictures of me shaving in the morning or the porridge I've got at night. So let's look at curated pictures. Fotolia offered 10 million pictures 9 years ago, 8 years ago. Now see what they do. Shutterstock, 50,000 images every day. These are curated images. These are images which people have worked at, art directed, and which have been gone through a filter. It's still 50,000 images a day. And that's only to one agency. Let's look at the creme de la creme. The most dominant picture agency, the one that everybody wants to get into because they think they'll make themselves rich. How many photographers are on the books? Roughly. One of the directors told me that they don't like to publish the figures exactly, but it's over 100,000. Getty Images photographers. That's what you're up against. So there are more producers than consumers almost. There are even Flickr groups that simply want to accumulate as many pictures as possible, 10 million pictures. And they've actually succeeded. And even here, look at all this desert. How many, each of these represents a geolocation for a picture that's been made. Even in the empty quarter, it's unbelievable how many pictures are made. So a key element of today's industry, because our subject is about the future of photography, is to look at how the industry has been disrupted. Key point to take away is changes are happening faster and they are more disruptive than ever before. So quick history, you know about what happened with film to digital. Actually, some of you don't because you're too young. But then we had darkroom to image manipulation. That was about 1980s. And around the same time that film went to digital, the two coincided. But they coincided to turn the whole industry upside down. Compact cameras have been killed off pretty much by smartphone cameras now. Right? Hardly anybody makes a decent compact camera. That whole market has collapsed in the space of less than 5 years. Point of view camera has gone from a specialist movie item that only a few people knew how to use into mainstream. It's so mainstream that you can go into like a little electronics store in any of your malls, and all of them will have something for GoPro or similar camera. Drone cameras, as we know, it has gone so mainstream that HIP has actually created a whole category for it. And something to watch, in-camera processing has become more powerful than ever. You may not realize it, but have you ever thought about how it is possible for iPhone cameras to, smartphone cameras to focus when they're so small? Well, they don't. It's in-camera processing. All right? They analyze the wavefront of the light. And distributed images. By that I mean that the image now no longer occupies space. It is not a physical object anymore. Basically, nearly every image on this planet is a distributed image. It's one that exists online virtually. Right? And it can find itself in a dozen cloud servers all around the world. And it exists only in the cloud. All of these, plus this outlet diversity, this means that you're able to make things like photo books online, you can sell images online, you sell images virtually, and there are other ways, there are other things that are happening, like websites where you can put your own images and act like your own agent. and they look after all the e-commerce aspects of it. All of that is exploding. Everybody's trying new things. What does that amount to? Okay, it amounts to being able to create images that have never really been possible before. Right? You can spend what, 300-400 dirham and produce pictures like that used to cost $1,000 an hour because you had to go up in a helicopter, right? And you can shoot that in 4K video if you spend a little bit more. And that used to take a lot more. So that means that all this disruption in the industry means that the industry is much more variegated, much more varied than we even can imagine. So disruption means that we get this greater diversity, which means that the niches could well be smaller. Right? So, for example, if you're a drone operator, you don't make yourself work on, say, landscapes. Everybody's doing beautiful landscapes in Hawaii because of the beautiful screensavers that you get on Apple. But you might decide, all right, I will be specialist and just do a drone operation just for construction sites. Yeah? Or just for solar panel construction, because there's a different requirements there for accuracy and for information. And these smaller niches means that there are actually more opportunities. Yesterday, I think some of us were getting a little bit depressed about how all this competition meant less opportunity. It's actually the other way around. Difficulties always lead to opportunities, but you've got to use your brain much harder. You can't rely on old thinking. You know, Einstein's dictum about you can't solve old problems using the thinking that led to the problems. You need new thinking. Applies to us just as much. So there's some little simple rules that are not rules, but my guidance for you. Risk it or rot. 12 years ago, oh my God, no. What is it? 2019 now, isn't it? More than 20 years ago, I made a decision to go to the bank, borrow a lot of money, and enter into the digital world. That meant that I had like 3 years in which, if I got through the day with fewer than 4 or 5 total system crashes, I was doing well. And my photography friends said I was mad, I was stupid, I was wasting my time. I'm here and they're not. Develop or die. Okay? Don't think that just because in history we had great careers from Henri Cartier-Bresson and Jim Brandenburg, or all the heroes that you look up to, that it worked for them. It wouldn't work for them now because things are different. So you develop your ideas or you die. You learn or you lose. You've got to know your stuff now. Cartier-Bresson could get away with not having a foggiest how things should be printed. He knew how it should look like, but he could give his negative to his printer in Paris and get the results that he wanted. He didn't have to worry about anything. He didn't have to. If you worry so much about exposure, he never worried about exposure. Have you noticed that he uses cameras that had no exposure meters? Right? He was the school of the 125th and be there school. And he knew, and he had a feel for how things should be exposed. If you look at his negatives very carefully, you'll see that his exposures were not that consistent. But who cares? right? But now the demands are much higher, right? That doesn't mean that you need to know how to use every aspect of Photoshop. It doesn't mean that you need to use every feature in your camera. But it does mean that you think very hard about what you're doing and why you're doing it. Okay, I'll go through this very quickly. So the result of all of this is that the industry is segmented. So we tend to think of doing photography along quite strict lines. But it's much more varied than that, right? So basically what I say is that if you're an accountant, bank manager, shelf stacker, taxi driver who loves photography, it may be that you can earn your money doing photography in one of these fields, and that is your day job, as it were, and that your passion can be poured into another aspect of photography. What is really hard, I think, is if you put your physical energy into a job that you hate and then try to do photography as a part-time activity. That's tough. So open your mind to the possibility of working these jobs, which may look quite boring, and some of them are. But I know that our photographers who do this kind of boring stuff and then sneak off on the weekend and you know, take the plant pictures and chase wildlife that they really want to do. And there are also other ways of working with photographs. Okay, you can manage pictures, you can commission, you can work with photographers, work with magazines, you can do the picture research for websites, you can try to do some management, or you can work in the gallery or whatever to promote gallery activities. They're all related to photography. So if you're going to have a day job and then pursue another your passion in another aspect of photography, then look at all of these. Does this make sense to you? Yeah? Or are you saying, this is all very easy for him to say? Does that make sense? Come on. If not, then I want to know, see, because then I can help others to get to a solution for you that's much faster. So do speak up. Okay, you have some responsibilities. You can't just soak it all up. You have a responsibility to help me improve this so that I can help others. You know, and for example, here are some of the best picture editors in Europe, apart from the guy at the back. And we spent all day looking at pictures to judge the chest press photo composition. And then we have a break. And what do? We look at pictures on a screen. All right, so this is our break. I thought it was really funny. All right. I think we're very aware of how the industry is stratified. So we have a few at the top which are very, very visible. All right, the McCurrys, the Don McCullins, the top fashion photographers of the world. But get this, top is not necessarily best paid. All right? Good example, I hope she won't mind. Actually, I think she won't mind at all. It's Donna. Donna Ferrato is world famous, deservedly for all the work. And she runs on the smell of an oily rag. And it has done for years. Oh, sorry. And top is not necessarily best paid either. All right? Some of the best people in the business are simply really nice. They're well connected, they're charming, they network, they're network virtuosos, right? That's why I'm not in that field. I'm not in that league. But it is probably true that the position in the top stratum is you get there by hard work. Yeah? It may seem to be not, it's obvious. Actually, it's not obvious because you have no idea how much hard work you're going to have to do. If you haven't done it, it's a bit like having babies. No, I mean not actual making babies, but actually rearing them. You have no idea how hard it is because nobody tells you, because nobody can tell you. It's wonderful, but you've got to put a lot into it. So we all fancy being like this, but we all end up having to do some of this. We would prefer to do this, but we often have to make beautiful pictures of very ugly, balding, middle-aged men. So let me give you another useful principle for you. It's the difference between active and passive income. Have you come across this notion before? Okay, this is a very important one for photographers. You can work yourself to the bone, working really, really hard, and you could actually create quite a big active income. But what happens when you stop working? Right? It's back to the cornflakes and no jam on the bread. If you have a passive, active income, then once you've used the picture can earn you money while you are asleep. That's where you want to get to. All right, and that means that that's why one of the most important pieces of kind of work that you can do is repeat work. Right? It's like if anyone in a hotel business, the best clients are repeat clients. You don't have to market to them. You've already done it. But you've got to make sure you keep them. And how do you keep them? You keep them by maintaining quality and welcoming them and all of that. So passive income is income that comes when you're asleep. All right? And a great example of that is me. That through my books, I can earn money while I'm asleep. And I like that. All right? And that's why stock photography is attractive. The problem with the stock photography is that while it can work, prices are now 1% of what they were less than 10 years ago. At the same time, competition for that 1% has gone up logarithmically by powers. Yeah? Why? Because the ones, do you know how you can really make money if you want to do stock? Anyone know? What's the best way to do it? There's a guy who shoots micro stock, so his pictures are sold for like $1 a pop, and that's for all time. And he still makes a lot of money. He still makes a six-figure sum over the year. Do you know how he does it? Sorry? Yes, how does he make a big library, though? Sorry? Yeah. Now, he has a warehouse which has different sets So room, kitchen, sleep, dining room, a bit of garden, bathroom. It has actors and actresses in each of them. So he goes to one, shoots it, and then he goes to another, and then that one is reset. New lighting, new models, new color scheme. Goes to the next one, shoots this one, and it goes to this one, shoots this one. And by the time he's come back, the others have reset. Right? And he turns out like thousands of pictures a day. And he has a staff that processes them, puts in all the keywords and everything. He chucks them in thousands a day. So if you want to earn from microstock, just do the figures. Yeah? There's a rule which is quite useful for you to know, which is that in stock photography, our experience is that, broadly speaking, you earn $1 per year for every 10 plus images in your library. Okay? So if you want to earn $1,000, how many pictures do you need in the library? Quite a lot. Right? And that ratio is in one of the higher earning ones, like Getty. And I can tell you that one of the reasons why Getty is one of the higher earning libraries is because the curating, the editing, is much tougher. There are times I've sent them stuff and they've kicked nearly all of it back. That's not a very nice experience. Okay, so here are other ways of doing it. And you'll see that I'm afraid there is no magic pill. The word low or slow keeps on appearing. I couldn't get rid of it. Yeah, you can do book sales. I have to say, my sales are down now, probably 10% of what they were 5 years ago. Actually can't earn a living on it. Why? Because of people like you. You're not buying books. You're taking free videos from YouTube. And if you get any good at it, like the Majids of the world, you know, he's going to be starting writing books, except there's no money in books. But there are lots of people writing books. When I started, there were maybe 5 of us who could do it. And now there are thousands of you. So I don't know why I do this. Show you how to do it. Okay, so print sales, again, high competition, small market, low returns. Very, very low on return of investment. So this is like, how many years' work? 20, 30 years' work? About 1 book a year. So all right, let's have a quick distinction between amateur and professional, and then probably it's time to have a little break. Who do you photograph for? What would you say between amateur and professional? What's the difference? Yeah.
As an amateur, I'm photographing for myself. As a professional,
Okay. So the answer was, as an amateur, he's photographing for himself. As a professional, he's photographing for everyone else. Yeah. But amateurs like to please others, no? You do want to please others. You like it when you get lots of likes on your posts. Professionals are pretty much the same. The business is of pleasing the client. I'm going through this very quickly again, but basically, in my mind, there's actually no essential difference. Except in this, the understanding of what you are actually doing. So are you selling a photograph? No, you're not. Does it sound as surprising? What are you doing instead as a professional photographer? Come on, you guys want to be professionals. What do you want to do? What are you offering? Concept? Okay. Any other suggestions? Memories? Feelings? Any other suggestions? Sorry? Emotion, yeah. Yeah, that was good. Nah. You're selling a solution. If you want to be professional, you want to be running a business. Businesses provide solutions. It's just that your solution involves a photograph. It doesn't involve a piece of plumbing that doesn't leak. It doesn't involve a bit of wiring that is insulated. It involves a photograph. So you had some of the keywords came up. It's about communicating, conveying, showing. Yeah? But what you are doing, just always keep that in mind. I think actually, if you take nothing else away, it is to remember that your job, if you're a professional photographer, is to provide a solution for your client. Specialist one, of course. Okay, this is from a recent exhibition of mine. This was a solution for my client. The town council in Auckland, they've got a big fence, ugly, want some nice pictures on it, but not any old pictures. What we want is something that involves the community, that brings them in and gives them a sense of being, of the community, they themselves interacting with something that the council is giving them. So that was my solution. Right? So it's very simple. It looks like a bunch of family pictures. But if I re-express it as solving the problem of what to do with these ugly railings, I hope you're thinking about it. Your view of this changes in a very subtle way, but it will be a very powerful way. So just go through this. That this is the emotions. This is having fun. This is when you photograph. But when professionals photograph, you expect that actually we're going to say something quite different. All right. So because you're providing a solution, you're going to have to do it whenever it's needed or you're asked, not just when you feel like it. Right. And I always trot out this little quote: inspiration is for amateurs, the rest of us turn up and get on with it. Right? Can't wait for inspiration. And I tell you, those portraits that I did for that exhibition, the family ones, how long do you think it took me to pose and finish the shoot? Hour or so? Thank you. Yeah. Actually, I had to do it and be out within 90 seconds. All those pictures were made within 2 minutes, from beginning of the shoot to the end. Why? Because of all those kids involved. And if you have a group of people, 3 or 4 people, you try to stage manage it too much, and it just goes and it just sinks into concrete. Right? But the reason why they're so lively is because I could get it done within 60 seconds to a minute. right? So it's not about waiting for inspiration, because I was terrified. I didn't know how the project was going to go. I just turned up and got on with it. So yeah, so there are a lot of ugly people you have to photograph, and you might have to make them look beautiful, which may be hard. I remember I had a client in Uzbekistan who asked me to take a picture of her because she said I always look really ugly in pictures. So I said I knew how to do it. I had 200mm f2.8, get her quite close, blur the background, blur as much of her face as possible. She had pretty eyes, so I tried to focus on that. Anyway, net result is she looked at that and said, oh, God, that's terrible. And I thought, she says, well, it just proves I really am ugly. Because if you can't make me look beautiful, I'm ugly, which is a bit sad, actually. I think this is probably a good point to stop so that we can have a little break, and so that those of you who want to pray may do so. And on that, I would like you to join me in thoughts for Christchurch. Some of you may know that some, I think Australians, we believe, massacred 49 people in Christchurch, seriously injured some 48, some seriously, so the casualty figures may even be higher. They are brothers. They are our brothers, our sisters, whether they're Muslim or Christians or whatever. And so I would like to dedicate just a moment of our time together to spare a thought for the family, for their suffering, and to pray in your own way for peace and forgiveness, and that this may be the last event of its kind. We are really sad that in the land of Aotearoa, which is the A Maori name, which means, Ao means the world, Te of, Aroa is like Aroha, means love and compassion. So it means our land, my beloved New Zealand, is a land of love and compassion. And it has hurt the nation, and we are so ashamed. So I would ask you to join me just for a few minutes to remember these people and to pray for peace. Thank you. Thank you. Let's come back in 15 minutes, yeah? Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Don't worry. There's lots of people who were late too.
You are from this town? You belong to the town that happened today?
No.
Oh.
No. We live in Auckland. Auckland is down in, Christchurch is down in the south. Yeah.
The footage was so horrible.
I haven't seen the footage. I don't want to see it.
It seems to me that the killer, he was playing Counter-Strike.
Yes, it was. It was a live stream.
He was putting GoPro here.
Yeah. It was a live stream. It was all deliberate. Yeah.
تعبان والله. تعبان
Are they happy? Huh? I think so. That's what he wants it to be. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be spread. It shouldn't be. It will, Forty, 49 dead, 48 injured. I'm sure there'll be more fatality. So bad. So bad. One already. So. So let's get them back. Yeah.
Maybe 5 minutes more.
Because Ola wants me to finish at 7:30, so I go pew, pew.
Yeah, so you can rest also.
Hmm?
So you can rest.
Yeah. I'll,
When are you
I'll
traveling
work
back? When are you traveling back?
tomorrow morning.
What time? Forget your flight. I have it on my
Seven,
phone.
7 something, half 7,
So you need to be at the airport around 5 or something?
around 8. No. I leave.
You need to say goodbye to Margot.
So naughty.
Sorry, Tom.
Well, may nobody exploit this to do more. That's the problem. I think I saw the report that maybe they've arrested 5. Yeah. Which is actually, from the point of view of police work, it's actually a little, almost suspicious to arrest these people so quickly. So much preparation. They must have planned routes and everything. But And yeah. Yeah, it's Juma. Yeah, yeah. 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 Hi. Come on, yeah, quickly. Okay. Okay, well done. Okay, welcome back. Let's go to setting up the business. We're going to speed through this, and we can pick up any points that you don't understand or we want clarification later. Shall we do that? You happy with that? Setting up the business, then. Let's set up the business. You've decided you're going to do it. What's the most important resource or cluster of resources? What's the most important thing you need? Money? Equipment? Go on. Clients? Yeah? Camera? Idea? Your eye? Okay. You need to believe you can do it. That's your most important resource. If you don't, if you have limiting beliefs about what you can do and how good you are, doesn't matter how hard you work. All you will do is reinforce those beliefs. That you have no talent, that you're not good enough. So make sure you have that belief in yourself. Because those who talk about cameras and everything else, didn't we start off with the fact that There are 2 billion people on this planet with like 12 megapixel cameras in their hands. Huh? There are 200 million of you with cameras like the Sony A9s, Nikon D850s, Canon, what's the latest Canon? 5D Mark IIIs. There are millions of them. So that doesn't separate you from all the others. This is what separates you from all the others. Then, sure, you need all these other stuff. And of course, some of this is going to need some money. But the most important money to have is actually money to have fun. Right? Because that's going to be your measure. It's no fun, it's not a life either, really, to work successfully and actually not have any fun. We're doing this so that we have some fun. We're also doing this because we want to make the world better and everything else, but if we don't have any fun, we can't keep it up for long. Okay, there were some questions yesterday about how much to charge. And I want to give you a very simple formula that is going to shock you. First, you work out how much you need to stay alive for 1 year. So it's your rent, food, petrol, etisalat, whatever. Yeah? Then how many days of the year do you want to work? Right? So it's not 365. It's not even 300 days, because that actually only gives you weekends off. One weekend, 1 day a week off. All right? If you're going to do that, you might as well just stack shelves or be a taxi driver. Sorry, yeah? And other holidays, yeah. All the religious holidays that you want to take, and not to mention the fun holidays. So let's for fun actually, let's just quickly do this. How much does it cost to survive and live and do all these things in Dubai for the average single person? Let's not worry about family for the moment. 10 to 15,000 dirham. Everyone happy? Agree with that? No, a year. Work out minimum to stay alive for 1 year. 200,000? Any advance on that? Is that about right for everyone? 200,000. Okay, so how many days do you want to work? 200 days. Okay, that makes the maths quite simple. So your basic minimum daily rate is 1,000 dirham. Now, does that sound like a lot or a little? It's okay. Okay? Well, I've got bad news for you. It's got to be a lot more than that. Okay? Because you are wanting to provide for your future, if you can. So that minimum of 1,000 dirham a day is your absolute minimum then. Yeah? Not forgetting that it's like if a shooting day is one shooting day you do, then it might be 4 or 5 hours of post-processing. Now, some clients you can charge for the post-processing. Other clients expect it to be part of the deal. All right, so that gets into detailed negotiations. But if you want to prepare for the family, if you want to be able to invest in new equipment, invest in the most important thing is have enough time to develop new markets, new projects, new clients. A new camera, yeah. Yeah, all of that. But one of the key things, do you remember something that Majid said that was very important yesterday, which I've used as well, which is that if I wanted something, like a new lens, I would make my current work pay for it. So if you have some jobs, you clip maybe 10% just to save up for the new lens. Yeah? Otherwise, all you're doing is making money for the credit card company. And you don't want to do that. Or the bank. So here I share with you some key strategies which I found have worked. And I share them with you particularly because when you start as a photographer, it's very, very hard. It seems like almost suicidal to follow strategies, like the first one. Right? Because you think that the person you want to work with is someone who has money. Wrong. You want to work with somebody you like and trust. Because people can offer you lots of money and it takes you 9 months to get paid, and lawyers' letters, and you've subsidized their operation for 9 months until you get paid. And it's caused you a huge amount of grief. I learned the hard way not to do that. As we said before, best business is repeat business. And I don't need to go into details of how you make sure you get repeat business. It's obvious, isn't it? You are bloody good. Excuse my Anglo-Saxon. You solve their problems. And maybe even solve them better than they thought possible. Document every step of the way, right? If there's something which I wish I had done better at the beginning of my career, it is to have much more paperwork. And keep fresh. I think it was Donna yesterday who said how important it is to shoot for the client, make sure you get the job done, but while you're there, use the opportunity to do something different, to exploit it. This is obvious about being honest and reliable and courteous. Courteous is important, you know, because one of the things I want to share with you, if you don't have the experience, is that when somebody says no, you ask yourself, actually, is it they themselves who is saying no? And you know why? Because he has a boss. Everybody has somebody he answers to. Yeah? So if somebody says no, and you react badly to it, that doesn't do you any good, especially when it happens here, which is actually a relatively small community of media buyers and picture commissioners. They start off from one company and then they go off to another. And then you want to be able to say, "Hi, it's really nice to see you." Instead of thinking, "Oh shit, I was so rude to him." Yeah? So always be courteous, because you never know if you're going to meet them in their next job. Don't subsidize their business by undercutting yourself. This is where it can feel suicidal to say no to someone. Right? But we've just proven that if you don't charge more than, if you charge less than 1,000 dirham a day for a job, all you're doing is making their business more profitable. And you're not in the business of making it profitable for them, are you? And don't allow credit to balloon. Oops, sorry. Do you know what I mean by that? There is a strategy. I give it a name, but I don't want to be libelous. Where people will say, all right, I've got a job for you. All right, it's worth 5,000 dirham. That's great, I'll do it, shoot it. And then 2 months later, he hasn't paid for it. And he says, look, cash is a bit short. I'm sure that's a phrase that you use a lot around here, all over the world. Anyway, so cash is a bit short, but I've got another job for you. All right, so I can give you 2,000 from the last job, and you can get another 5,000 from this next job. So you did that job, and then what happens? When you've done that job, you are owed 8,000 dirham. 3 months later, he hasn't paid you, and you chase him for the money, and he says, oh, I've got another job for you, and but I've cash is short, so I can give you maybe just another 2,000 dirham as part payment. So you do $15,000 dirham of work, and you've been paid 4,000. Right? I know people who do this. I've had it done to me. Yeah. So he's done 3 jobs, 15,000, and 6 months later, he owes you 9,000 dirham. That's credit balloon. So how do you stop that? You say no. All right, that's one of the most important words in your vocabulary. Okay. This really leads to this. This is the most important. Very important. If you have any doubt about the picture, it's out. It's dead. You might be able to use it for something else, but basically, if you have any doubt, especially for something like a portfolio, that's tough, isn't it? But if you don't hurt, if it's too comfortable, then I promise you, you won't get anywhere. Because there are 200 million other photographers on the planet who are prepared to go through that hurt. All right? So take yourself through hurt. Can you do that? Will you promise me you will hurt yourself? Yeah, I'm serious. I want you to hurt. Because it hurts to get it right. It hurts to get it right. I mean, it's like that story from Donna last night of how much work and effort she put into getting that final shot. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Okay. All right, I'll skip through this. Here's an example of a portfolio that's not very good. Got nice pictures, but here's a slightly stronger portfolio. Yeah, don't know what's happening. Oh, in the back, yeah. That's a bit of a mess. Let me just skip through all of this because we don't need this. If we have a longer session, we can look more at how you construct portfolios. Okay. To get portfolios working better, it really helps to have this kind of consistency and clear identity. But it wasn't very good because if the concepts aren't clear, if it's not clear what you're saying, then it's not very commercial. So let's go through this. I should show this here, really, shouldn't I? All right, so maybe some images are not so strong, but they work well with others. That's an important part of constructing narrative. Sometimes you have quieter images, sometimes you have more exciting, more clearer, stronger images. But look for consistency and look for clear identity. Why? Because your portfolio is like your visual representation of you, of your work. How many of you feel that you need to have an exhibition? Yeah? Okay, yeah. Well, it's great to have an exhibition. But galleries are businesses, remember that? They want to make money, just like you do. And I think we talked a little bit about that in the workshop with Hiro and Majid and Ramsey, yes? Whether it works or not depends on the match between your work and the network set up by the gallery. So if their network are fine art photography collectors, then it's no use showing photojournalism or landscape. Okay? Main thing I find is that they're expensive, they're intensive and stressful things to do, aren't they? Who's had experience of having put on an exhibition? No? Yeah. One or two have, yeah. Really hard work. And the only reason why I did that last one of the family portrait is that all the printing and everything is done by the council. And at the end of it, because they're outdoor boards, the pictures are actually just scraped off. So I don't have a problem with having to store the damn frames, right? All 20-odd frames. Yeah. So ROI is really, really low. Return on investment. So it's good for ego. ROI on that aspect is really good. It's really nice for thanking mum and dad and friends who've supported you. You know, after all the years of having to put up with you, they get a glass of orange juice and a baklava. That's great. And see your pictures on the wall. That's lovely. So exhibitions are important, but don't rely on them for any kind of return. I mean, for example, I had this show in the Zamana in London. That's the Ismaili Foundation, Aga Khan. 3 months there. In West Kensington, in South Kensington, like one of the best spots in the whole of London, I sold one print. And these are Ismailis. I mean, they have lots of toys, but they only sold one print. And this was my Marco Polo expedition. And here was Central Asia. I think I maybe sold one print and two posters. So quick thing on value of competitions. They do work. Because one of the key points about having 2 trillion images on the planet is how you become the tip of the iceberg and not the 99%. Actually, it's kind of very, the picture iceberg is not a very nice iceberg. It's like 1% at the top and 90% underwater. Right? Make no mistake about that. And it doesn't matter how many Flickr likes and Instagram likes you have. What you want is something like a HEPA like or a World Photography Award like, World Press Photo, Wildlife Photographer of the Year. All right? Go for the main ones, because be careful that the competitions now have such a big market that they have become a business. And there are now many competitions that charge even quite small amounts, like $10, $15 per entry, who are making vast amounts, right? Because they don't pay judges. They've got some cheap deal from camera manufacturers for a camera which nobody really wants. So $10,000 and even just 2,000 entrants, you pay for a website and your web developer and have quite a few lunches. But these competitions are getting many more than that. All right? And they are just businesses. So check your competitions out very carefully. Yeah, highly concentrated. But there is only one guarantee, because it does look a bit like a lottery, and to some extent it is a bit of a lottery. The pictures that surface to the top that are selected are often a function not of any intrinsic quality of the pictures, but the combination of their intrinsic quality and the kinds of judges that happen to be on the panel that year. Okay? So it's not just pictures, it's not just judges, it's the two. But if you don't enter, I promise you, you won't win. Of course. I kind of give this talk, and often I say, well, do you want guarantees when it comes to competitions? And everybody just goes, yeah. And that's the guarantee I give them. So some people actually need to be reminded, right? I'm sure you're all sage and understand this. So looking long term, your IP, intellectual property, that's sort of copyright, it is your pension. It may take years, it may take your whole blinking lifetime actually, before the work that you do is finally recognized. All right? It may happen, it may not happen. There are no guarantees there. But you keep them. All right? You might specialize in, I don't know, apples around the world. Or say bananas, that's a good example. Bananas around the world. And all of a sudden we get a bug that kills off the one that we all eat. Right? And all of a sudden, a totally esoteric, arcane project becomes something of great value. Right? Like the what? The egg. Oh, yeah. It's an egg. So, and remember what we discussed yesterday again, was that for those who weren't there, that when you put your pictures online, it's no longer yours entirely. Right? It's similar to putting your sofa out in the middle of the street. You cannot complain if somebody sits on it. And if it's a really nice sofa, you could hardly complain if somebody steals it. Don't give up copyright on commission. All right? Unless it's for really good money. Really good money. Why is that? One very simple reason. Why? Don't give up your copyright on commission, because lots of people will try to keep the copyright. The reason is that if your copyright is bought by a company, it becomes part of their assets. When they're taken over, they sell on that asset. So if you have any relationship with the company, you no longer have it. That company can then go on to use your image in ways that you might not want. Worse still, it might go on and make a heck of a lot of money with your image, and you will get nothing. All right? So if a company goes bust, for example, at least you have the copyright. If they go bust, your copyright syncs with all the other assets. Yeah? Now, this is, I think, a really good tip. Welcome infringement as an opportunity. What does that mean? Has anyone experienced having their pictures used by someone else without permission? Have you experienced that at all? You have? Yeah? Can you say something?
I'm saying it's something regular to see your photo with someone else's account, and it's easy for them. And this is something I wanted to ask you in the slide before regarding the photo stock. When you participate in any kind of website to sell your photo, there is no guarantee. You can lose your photo and they have protect them themselves.
Yeah.
They are saying it's part of the strategy of working with us.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's another issue here. Copyright not only on commission, but read the rules very carefully when you enter pictures to competitions. For example, I think Apple ran a competition where they were going to use it on big billboards and everything. And originally, their conditions was that you give up the copyright. But there was such a big fuss about it that they changed it. But those who entered the competition before they changed it would have lost their copyright. But the point about welcoming infringement as an opportunity is that, especially if you see a professional or a company, a commercial operation, if they use your picture, most people's reaction is outrage and lawyers' letters and saying, stop it, take it down, take down notices or whatever. Don't do that. Send them a bill. You write a covering letter saying, I'm so glad you like using my pictures. Next time, please ask. But for current use, here's the bill. 1,500 dirham. Right? Or make it quite big, because then you've got some kind of negotiating position. And he says, well, why is it so big? This is, well, if you asked, we could have negotiated, and we could have agreed 500 dirham. But now we're talking, maybe, let's agree on 1,000 dirham. Sorry? So you don't have to pay 5,000 dirham for a lawyer's letter, do? It's an opportunity. And I don't want to hear anybody talk about losing their pictures because their hard disk crashed. Right? There's no excuse now. Even 2 terabytes of solid state drive is only 500 dirham. Is it? 800 dirham maybe. Cheaper than that. Oh, I don't go to the shops that Mohammed goes to. He knows all the cheap ones. I'll have to ask you next time. Yeah, no excuse. All right? Have copies all over the place. Keep it with mum and dad, and keep it with your brother and with your sister, and keep your own where you are. No excuse. So I don't want anybody to cry over losing pictures. All right? Yeah, and basically value your work. And it goes right back to what I said in the beginning, what we said in the beginning. Believe in yourself, exactly. Yeah. So I think we're there. So just a couple of hard truths. I'm often asked for encouragement, and this is what I tell them. If you need encouragement, go and play golf. But if you really burn with the need, you will succeed. It does happen. I've seen it happen. I was telling the story last night of how many, many years ago, 30 years ago, or more, I had a really tall, lanky boy, and he was a boy then, come up to me and said, "Look, Tom, I've got this crazy idea. I really want to be a photojournalist. I really, really want to do this, and maybe even set up an agency. But everybody tells me this is crazy, mad. Don't do it. I mean, it's just not worth it." And I said, and I didn't even know his name then. I said, "Look, if you have a dream, if you really want to do it, do it. Because then at least if it crashes and fails, you will know that you've given it the best shot. You've tried. Right? Because then you can't regret not having given it the chance." Well, that person was Gary Knight, who went on to form Seven Agency, and now teaches photojournalism in the US. And he told me many years later that conversation gave him the extra bit of strength he needed. I don't think he needed very much, because Gary is pretty ballsy and he'll get things done. But it gave him that little bit of strength to actually just push through and do it. But really he did it because he burnt with the need. And he succeeded. And I'm sure you lot can. Thank you. So I've overrun slightly, so I'm going to get told off, but let's have some questions, and maybe I have some answers for you.
Arabic.
Uh-huh. Oh. Ah, okay. Thanks. Oh. Sorry about somebody's got a big head.
Okay.
Yeah. What are we? Two? Yeah.
احمد.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
بتكلم عن حقوق الملكيه الفكريه، ان في موقف حصل لي انا شخصيا يعني بخصوص الملكيه الفكريه، ان اوكي مجله ناشونال جيوغرافي ابو ظبي نشرت لي صوره على الانستجرام، طبعا استاذنتني فيها ان هي تنشرها وانا وافقت. فنتيجه لده ان في مصورين فنانين اثنين من دوله خليجيه عجبتهم الصوره، وواحده فيهم فنانه رسمت الصوره بدون استئذاني في معرض مسابقه كبيره هناك في دوله خليجيه، وواحده تانية رسمت صوره تانية مشابهه ليها ولكن استاذنتني. فقالت لي انا هتفق معاك اتفاق ان لو فازت الصوره دي بعد ما ارسمها هي ترسمها كلوحه ذاتيه، بنتفق على المبلغ مناصفه. انا وافقت. فالفنانه الثانيه انا عرفت ان هي رسمت صوره اللي خدتها ناشونال جيوغرافي، ولكن بدون اتفاق. فدخلت على الخاص بتاعها، المسج الخاص، زي ما حضرتك قلت، ان كلمتها قلت لها انت خدت الصوره من غير ما تستاذنيني. ما ردتش. قلت لها الصوره هتساوي رقم، انا حطيت رقم، لو انت ما ادتنيش الرقم ده انا هبلغ كل اصدقائك في المسابقه ان انت واخده الصوره دي بدون اذني. فدخلت على الخاص، ردت عليا وقالت لي اوكي احنا بنتفق على السعر، واتفقنا على نسبه معينه في حاله الفوز. بس للاسف ان ما فازوش. فدي كان يعني محاوله مني ان انا يعني احاول اخد حقوق الملكيه الفكريه بتاعتي انا بشكل مهذب ومحترم يعني معاهم. شكرا.
Yeah, well done. Yeah, yeah, well done. That is the right way to do it. I think it may not be necessary, may not be the best policy to agree what in English law would be called contingent fee, which means that if it wins, then I pay. If it doesn't, then I won't. I would have tried to push for, well, here's the basic fee for use, and if you win, then I want more. Yeah? But, you know, you have to judge the situation. Thank you. Well done. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Would you please mention to us some of the obstacles that you have faced in the beginning of your professional path?
Ooh. Okay. Obstacles I face in the beginning of my professional path. I think the main obstacle was myself. Because partly because I was not sure what to do. And I think the main thing, which is actually, thank you for the question, main thing I realized was that what held me back was my wish to please others. When I started to make photographs that I felt good about, which I felt meant something to me, that's when I started to make some progress. And I think in those days that was easier because you had fewer books, you had fewer distractions, and you would go out, you would make a few pictures, develop the film, make the prints, and spend a lot of time with just a few pictures. Now I think it can be very easy to be distracted by all these pictures and by the fact that if you make a certain kind of picture, you get 250 likes in only 24 hours. And that can reinforce, even if you're not conscious about it, it can reinforce a process in your mind where you try to make pictures in order to get lots of likes. And then it can be that 5 years down the line, you think, my pictures now look the same as I did 5 years ago. Why is that? Because of a neural process. I mean, it's in the brain. The neural process is neuroplasticity, where the more you do something that you like, the easier it is to do it. That's fine. That's good. That's how you can train and be a tennis player without having to think about how to hit the ball. That's great. But it also means that it becomes more difficult to do the things which you're not used to. And that breaks one of my suggestions, which is that you keep developing. Yeah? Or, much more important, that if you take a line that works and then it suddenly stops working, then what do? You have to reinvent yourself, and it becomes very difficult. So that was a major hurdle for myself. Actually, in the end, I don't care what you lot think. I'm just going to do what I want to do. Yeah. Thank you. Good question.
Hello. Hi.
Yeah. Hi.
I have a question on the Instagram bit. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Test 1, 2, 3. Okay. So I have a question on the Instagram, thing you were talking about. And don't you think because now social media is the new way to for mass media? It's not TV, it's not radio anymore. Everything is on Facebook, and Twitter, and Instagram. Don't you think when you post something on Instagram, you get likes? That also encourages you to actually improve and work on yourself to get more likes, maybe, or get more exposure on your work, in a way.
Yeah. Did you understand that question? If you get lots of likes, it helps you improve. Who is a musician around here? Yeah, a few musicians. Sports people? Yeah. Writers? Right. Do you get better by avoiding pain? Or do you get better by pushing yourself through pain barriers? Yeah, I think I didn't ask that question very well, but you see where I'm getting to. That the problem is that it's great to be encouraged. It is lovely. I mean, I like getting lots of likes on my Instagram pictures, but I don't need it. And what they don't do is make me improve. What actually makes me improve is not lots of likes, but the opposite. If I put a picture up and everybody goes, ugh, I get 1 or 2 polite yes likes from my closest, best supporters. But the most interesting pictures are those where you don't get the likes. Why? What can you do to improve it? Why don't they like it? What's happened? Yeah? Do you see? So I'm suggesting we turn that around. Yeah, yeah. And then we come to.
When I start my photography, I made my Instagram page, and I was doing what I love. I was doing the photography the way I like it, and I got a lot of fans. A lot of people like my work. Then I find myself tracking what my audience like, and trying to improve my photography in the way they like. And now in the end, I found myself I don't like my recent work, and I want to get back. I don't care about anyone if they like my work or not, and I want to do the thing I love.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. So you're supporting what I'm saying, really. Yeah, yeah. And I think it's also worth remembering about who your best critics are. I know that one of the most important things for you to improve your photography is actually to have constructive criticism. And if there's anything that is lacking in all these multi-billion posts on pictures and comments and likes and everything, it's actually constructive criticism, isn't it? It's really lacking. So that's something I'm thinking about how to redress. So if you don't have that constructive criticism, I think it's really hard to really improve. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry? Yeah. Yeah, not only motivation, but it's actually knowing how to apply all the stuff that you know. You know all this stuff about depth of field and focus and color balance and everything else, but how do you apply it? That's a tough bit. Yeah.
In one of your slides, you've mentioned how to build your business and what kind of materials and stuffs you have to buy. if you have limited amount of money and you have to choose whether you have to buy body of a camera or lens or to enter a course or to pay for someone to edit the photos on Photoshop or to participate in social media or whatever, where would you spend your money?
Where would I spend my money? I think that it's one of those it depends questions. It depends on what you want to do, what stage you are at in your own photography. I know that one of the big preoccupations of amateur photographers is actually, shall I get the 25 for 72.8 or the f4 lens? Yeah, okay. If you're a beginner, I would say you spend all your time and your money just making photographs. All right? There is this rule, there is this, not a rule really, it's like a practical guide that's about 10,000 hours. You've heard about that? That basically you achieve mastery when you have worked at the subject for 10,000 hours. But that 10,000 hours needs to be directed, needs to be conscious. It's just not rote, just won't do it. And it needs to be driven by some understanding. And it's actually quite fun to work at photography for 10,000 hours. But I would strongly recommend that if you're at the beginning, you are cash poor, but you are time rich. All right? Even if you have a day job, you're still basically time rich. I know amateurs who work at the photography much harder than I do. As soon as they come out of work, they rush off to catch a sunset, and then over the weekends, they climb up the mountain, go to the sea or whatever. I just stay at home and listen to music and read poetry. But that's an important point, all right? If you're cash poor, you're almost certainly time rich. And let me remind you that there are photographers who have spent entire careers with just one lens, one camera. All right? There are newspaper photographers. I mean, the famous ones like Marc Ribot and Henri Cartier-Bresson, a whole host actually of Magnum photographers, where you think that, and some National Geographic photographers like David Douglas Duncan, you'd think that, you know, National Geographic photographers, they have suitcases, there's a whole line of suitcases and Pelican cases of equipment. Some of them go around with a Leica and a 35mm f2 lens. If you noticed Donna Ferrato, she basically was one camera, one lens. 50mm lens, maybe 35 sometimes. Yeah? As a newspaper photographer, Jane Bown, anyone heard of her? She had like a 25-year career making portraits for the Observer magazine in London. She used a Olympus with a 50mm lens for the whole of that time. Okay? Those portraits that I made of the family, 50mm lens. That's all you need to start with. What you really need to do is get those hours under your belt. Yeah.
Tom, sorry, a more granular question, so
Okay, yeah.
not so esoteric, philosophical, directional, but more practical in regard to what's your current advice on best practice to manage the assets. You say your assets, your digital assets, so you say, you know, what you need to do is never lose your assets, put them with your mom and dad. And I mean, I know your depth and breadth of knowledge is infinitely more than that advice. So you talked about stenographic, let's say, codes on your images, because it's not just Instagram. A lot of people have
for example, websites. And those websites, you just click and suddenly you've got this wonderful image, probably one of your best images to attract potential clients or what have you. So do you have a sort of a go-to workflow that you can share with us?
No, well, I'm in a slightly unusual position in that my readers do my watching for me. All right, so I have all these books out, and readers say, occasionally I get them writing to me and saying, Tom, I just saw your pictures here. So I track it down, and I give them a kick in the arse or whatever, or send them a bill. All right, it doesn't happen very often. And I think my analogy of putting your sofa out in the street is a really good one, actually, because I think it's true. Because I don't know whether you know that it's becoming like almost standard practice for wedding photographers who start out. So they haven't shot any weddings, have they? You're just starting out. You haven't put any weddings. So how do you populate your website with wedding pictures? Well, just borrow some. And they've been doing that. Sorry? No, they don't even do that. They borrow pictures from other wedding photographers' websites. Portrait photographers are doing that as well, right? And I'm sorry, I don't know any way you can stop that, because there are billions of web pages, of photographers' web pages. I mean, if you just look at WordPress photography templates, you know, there are thousands of them. And those are just templates. Best practice, I think, certainly keep to small file sizes. And if you spot it, send them bill. Yeah? And most of the time, it's actually not worth doing much chasing. Because your pictures, they're lovely and they're fine, and you put your heart and soul into it. But, you know, if it's like a few hundred US, I mean, is it really worth it? If you are in a position like the photographer in Haiti, who photographed a unique event, and he put it on Instagram because that was the only thing that was working, and then it gets stolen by AFP and Getty, well, sure, chase after them. You know, chase after them. And he did well, didn't he? Oh, well, actually, so did his lawyer, but never mind. Yeah, and in the end, actually, when it comes to all this legal work, one of the basic rules is the only person who wins is the lawyer. Remember that. In all litigation, the only person who wins are the lawyers on both sides. Always remember that. That comes from my wonderful wife, who is a litigation lawyer. That's one of the things she learned. That's why she doesn't do it anymore. So I think, is it time to, yeah, time to get your certificates and everything? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
There's
And for the 10th time, congratulations for the Appreciation Award. Give him a big applause. And we wish to see you every year here. You are part of HIPA and you are always welcome.
Please, I would
Thank
love
you
to
very
be here.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please take your certificates.